Shut up and sit down.
Howdy and salutations. Welcome to Broken Table Commentary, a three-man creative debate podcast all about the greatest of fake sports, professional wrestling. Every week, we each bring a different topic to the table. The topics can be ridiculous or serious, opinion or factual, creative or not, whatever we feel like. On commentary, we have our Mark, the debonair diabetic daddy, Lenton.
Yo, this is Linton. Thank everybody for sending in your BTFIs. We've thrown them up on the website. You still got time before Saturday to hit them up and throw them at us, and we'll put them up there.
Calm down, jeez.
I'm excited.
Our historian, the Scottish Grumpelstiltskin Michael.
Aye, I'm not grumpy, by the way.
And our critic, me, Jessel. As always, you can follow us on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Facebook as Broken Table Commentary, or follow us directly at BrokenTableCommentary.com. New episodes are broadcast every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is episode number 2, Banquet Table. With WrestleMania around the corner, we've dedicated this week's topics to WrestleMania-related things, or WrestleMania-adjacent at least. But before we go too far, we got a couple things to cover this week, such as 2 title matches got stipulations all of a sudden between our last broadcast and this one. The Raw tag match is now a ladder match, and the Raw women's match is now an elimination 4-way match. What do you guys think about this?
What? I had no idea that the Raw tag match became a ladder match.
Oh yeah, that information just got spouted forth, I believe.
Well, during the whole segment last night, I told Sarah, I was like, oh, I bet it's going to become a ladder match. But then when I checked this morning and nothing was said, I was like, oh, well, I guess not. I guess they were just being laddery.
Well, let me double check.
Yeah, please do. I'll talk about the women's thing. Oh, is that the other one, the women's one, right?
Yeah, it's elimination now.
Yeah, I'm definitely more into that. That definitely hypes it up more for me. I love elimination matches. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, they're rarer when they're elimination matches, I feel. I like them more because it becomes more of a sort of an endurance factor, as you say. You don't get... Well, you can get lucky victories when, Vince McMahon turns on the rock, but let's just keep my inner 13-year-old Mark out of the question. I feel the person has to go and earn it within the match, in a manner of speaking, so I prefer it that way. But I know a lot of people prefer the sort of first one fall
like
finishes.
Me, I can't stand that they made this match elimination 4-way. And yeah, it is a ladder match now. I went and checked. I can't stand that it's an elimination match. Because you know why? It means that guaranteed one person is worse than the other 3. That is no way to build a story or a championship group or tell a good match. One person is worse than the other 3. Then on top of that, then when you have the final 3, you're really only telling a story about 2 of them, so then the third one's got to get gone so you can tell the story you really wanted to tell. If you really wanted this match to be that one-on-one, then just make it a goddamned one-on-one match. The fact that it's an elimination 4-way makes that match less interesting, and I can't stand it. Also, it means that Sasha's way more likely to win instead of Bayley retain, which is what I thought would happen, which also makes me mad.
Yeah, I'm cool with that, man. I picked Sasha to win.
I mean,
so
I would rather
that.
Sasha have the win. I just think the story's better if she turns heel on Raw instead of turns heel on WrestleMania.
I would still think that she could turn heel on Raw. I don't think this guarantees she's going to turn heel at WrestleMania by any means.
Plus, if she wins the title at WrestleMania, it'll be remembered more in future.
Sasha's going to have a long career, and as much as I can't stand Bayley, I think the story works better with this being a regular Fatal 4-way. And Sasha earning her win later. She had to get rid of Charlotte out of there because she couldn't beat Charlotte on the big stage. So on, so on, so on. It's a better story. But whatever. It's going to be a perfectly fine match. Nia Jax gave a great promo. Her best promo of her career. I loved it. She finally sounded natural.
She was probably the best part of that whole opening segment. Sasha was trash.
Well, yeah, she had to continue to play the fake babyface role.
She always worked better in NXT as a heel, to be honest.
She did.
And I am not sure how I feel about this triple threat ladder match. I just found this out.
Yeah, seconds ago.
I don't know. I kind of That's my first thought is Hardy Boys, Hardy Boys, Hardy Boys. So
I hope not,
I
because
hope
Hardy
this
Boys
doesn't
don't
become.
win ladder matches.
I hope it doesn't just become an opportunity for the Hardy Boys to somehow get involved and take away these guys' WrestleMania match
I still feel
moments.
pretty positive that Enzo and Cass are going to do it. You know the spot I want to see? I want to see Cass throw Enzo up to grab the belt. That's what I want. He just launches him upwards, and Enzo grabs it, and he's hanging from it.
Can he throw him that high?
If they lower the belt a little bit, because the ladders they were using on Raw are shorter than the big tall boys. Yeah.
Yeah, than the Money in the Bank
Yeah,
ones.
they can do it.
Mostly, I feel happy for Cesaro though, because this is his 5th year in the company, and his only actual match on the Mania card so far has been the first Andre Battle Royal, and apparently he doesn't really consider it as a WrestleMania match per se because it's a Battle Royal. I know my love of Battle Royals doesn't extend very far, apparently. Would you believe that? So even if it's a gimmick match, and it being a gimmick match means it's going to be on the main show, they're not going to put a ladder match on the pre-show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Means that he's going to have a WrestleMania match now, and if that means that Luke Gallows and the other lot all get on the card too, then so be it.
They had too much focus. This Raw very easily, very completely followed the lose on Raw, win at pay-per-view format so perfectly.
Potentially,
they always try to swerve one of them, but I don't know. I feel pretty good about the whole thing. I'm much more interested in Roman Undertaker. They keep pulling that heel trigger on Roman harder and harder. It might end up being like Neville Sami Zayn in NXT a couple years ago, where Neville never truly turned heel. He was just a real heel of a dick to Sami Zayn. But he never turned heel, because after that feud was over, they hugged it out, and Neville stayed face. So that's what I'm thinking they're probably going to do. They're just going to have, look, Roman's a heel versus Undertaker, but we all know he's still a babyface. That's what I suspect.
I would suspect that too, because during WrestleMania season, anybody can be a heel versus Undertaker, because it's challenging the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and that's all it is. We've seen it happen.
All they have to do is just keep Roman saying the same things he's saying. Just keep claiming this is his yard and talking about how much he doesn't give a damn about anybody and how it's one versus all. Like, all of those things, if he just keeps saying it the way he's saying it, he'll stay a heel that all of us can hate. Which is perfect, and that's what they need to do.
I just think that the whole thing's part of the sort of meta trolling that they're doing, where he's sort of a heel to I don't want to say internet community, because all fans are internet fans nowadays. Everyone has internet. But you know what I mean? The certain sort of anti-Roman crowd, like at the Rumble where he was number 30, and the whole thing was set up, A, to get people actually cheering Randy Orton, but B, so that the finish would mean more, because it was relying on people fearing that they were going to do their 2015 Rumble again. The whole setup just now with how he's acting to Taker, it's like they are taking what the stuff online about him having to turn heel and they're just waving at it, going, "Yep, hi, by the way," and then within a few weeks he'll be the same old.
I mean, you're probably right, but I really hope not.
I'm just cynical.
Any of you guys have anything else you want to go over before we jump into our first topic?
I've been watching these, the What Culture WrestleMania facts videos.
Oh yeah, they're great.
And one of the facts they came up with recently, I double checked it, and it's true, which worries me, in that in every single WrestleMania bar one that the US title's been on the line, it has changed hands. And some Glaswegian fool here predicted that the US champion would retain his belt this weekend. So
I think I'm the only one who said that he wouldn't retain.
Yes, you are. History suggests you may be smug in the near future.
Smug in my future? I'm smug all day long, bud.
You might well think that. I couldn't possibly comment.
Well, I know this isn't news or anything, but I really want to point people to a website I really, really like called botchedspot.com. BOTCHEDSPOT.com. It is essentially political cartoons for wrestling. Monday, Wednesday, Friday updated. He's always really funny and really on point. The guy watches all the time. He's been doing this for years, and he's really good. I really, really like him. I've shared him a lot with friends and family on Facebook and stuff. But every WrestleMania, he always, for the past 4 years, he's gone out of his way to make a silly roll and move D6 board game that just takes the piss out of WrestleMania. And I really liked this year's. I like that there's a Braun shortcut. I like that there's you sign a won't sue me clause contract, move ahead 2 spaces. But then when you move ahead the 2 spaces, it's you injured your knee, lose a turn. There's so many little tiny great jokes. The art's always really funny. So I really want to just give that website a shout out. It's really good. Check it out, botchedspot.com.
It is a great one.
I assume there'll be a link on the website for folk.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the descriptions, and Lenny can put links wherever he needs to. All right, well then I guess that means it's time for topic number 1.
It's WrestleMania this weekend, if you can believe that. I wish they'd promoted it or something. Got me thinking about how, well, mostly because I've been marathoning the WrestleManias in the last couple of weeks. It took me a long time to get over WrestleMania 32, all 17 hours of it, for the sounds of it. But anyhow, there's a lot of title matches on these shows, and I was wondering what you thought were the top 3 title matches, best ones, and the top 3 worst title matches in WrestleMania history. Any title, the world titles, the European, IC, women's, even the hardcore title, if you didn't like the 15-minute hardcore battle royal at WrestleMania 2000. I was annoyed at the time because I thought it was going to be an actual battle royal. So yes, I was thinking, the best 3 and worst 3 title matches in WrestleMania history. What are they?
I mean, I'll go ahead and just state now, this was stupidly hard for me. I literally went through every one of my favorite matches, and the vast majority of my favorite WrestleMania matches are not for the title. Savage Warrior retirement match, Jericho Michaels, Rock Hogan, the Steiners versus the Head Shrinkers at WrestleMania 9, Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, Bam Bam versus Lawrence Taylor, Big Show versus Mayweather. All those matches are easily in my favorite WrestleMania matches all time. None of them for a title. So this was stupid hard for me.
You've named several of my favourite WrestleMania matches there too, and I was suddenly realising how many of them weren't title matches when I actually had to think of my own answers.
Since I went ahead and I complained, I guess it's only fitting that I go first. So I'll do my 3 best. I'm going to put them in order of least surprising to most surprising.
Uh-huh.
Because my most surprising one, you guys are probably going to crap all over. But I don't care. You're wrong. First one, Ric Flair versus Macho Man Randy Savage at Mania 8. That match is phenomenal. It's amazing. Makes Ric Flair look like a madman. The blade job isn't as well done as some other blade jobs, but he doesn't bleed a lot, so it just gets up and gums up his hair and makes him look like a crazy person, like a crazy murderous hobo trying to kill Randy Savage. It's wonderful. It's a great match.
And it's got Mr. Perfect in it.
It does indeed. Mr. Perfect is such a dick. He is just the biggest dick that whole match. He interfered so many times, and I never remembered how much he was an asshole to Savage. But man, he was. Elizabeth tries to be helpful, but she just isn't. That match is perfect. There's only 2 matches that are better.
What are they?
The first one. No, the next match I have is Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle, Mania 20.
Nice.
That match is, not only is that match a technical masterpiece, it also culminated an amazing story with the Kurt Angle heel turn after he was pretending to be a good friend for Eddie, fighting for him, but he was the one who took him out anyway. Kurt Angle being burned that he never got to win the Rumble, and then that the last chance he got, Eddie stole it from him. It's so perfect. And Eddie, of course, cheats to win.
Awesome boot spot.
Yes, it's probably might be the best finish to WrestleMania.
Absolutely. It's character, it's story, and it's a great worked match. It's one of the matches that I use. That and Royal Rumble 2004 are the 2 matches I use to get people interested in wrestling.
Nice.
If you don't like those matches, there's nothing I can do to help you. My most surprising, I don't think it's better than these other two, mind you, but it is a perfect match. And that's very funny considering how much I lambasted a four-corner elimination match earlier. But this is Billy and Chuck versus APA versus the Dudley Boys versus the Hardy Boys at WrestleMania 18 for the Billy and Chuck's titles. That match...
You love that match.
I do love that match. That match does everything perfectly. Beat for beat, it is the best elimination four-corner match I've ever seen. The table spot is amazing. The Stacy Keibler, Jeff Hardy spot is amazing. The APA running roughshod, but then losing because they underestimated the Dudleys. The Dudleys and the Hardys not caring about Billy and Chuck, which allows them to eke out the win. The amazing Famouser spot literally made me jump out of my seat every time I see that match. The kick out on 3. I think people don't give this match any credit because it's Billy and Chuck and they're silly and gay, even though this was before they had gotten to that point. They don't give it any credit because it's just a filler, put 8 men in a match. But no, this match is the most perfectly booked, perfectly done match. There's not a single botch. You can hear, because it's in the arena, you can hear everybody yelling at each other. It's time to die, Jeff Hardy! It's amazing. It is so, so good. If you haven't watched it, I highly suggest, give it another shot. And you might not agree with me. I get it, but you're wrong. This match is amazing.
I'm afraid my bias against it is entirely, personal subjective.
Oh yeah, Billy Gunn hatred? Yeah, no, I understand.
Well, that, and also at the time, the whole thing had been for ages that the Acolytes were finally chasing the belts, and then I think it was about 3 weeks before WrestleMania, they added the Dudleys and Hardys into this match. And then the Acolytes last about 3 minutes.
It was 4.5, but yeah. It's because they were idiots. They thought that they had this match won. They thought that they could beat up Billy and Chuck, and they lost because of it. They made a calculated mistake. It's really smart storytelling.
I'll tell you that I was still convinced that the Acolytes were then basically jobbing out, and what happened after the brand didn't dissuade me of that, and then Bradshaw lasts a minute in the 04 Rumble. That when I went on my hiatus from wrestling and I came back in 05 and checked the title history at WWE.com and saw that Bradshaw had a 10-month title reign, I damn near fainted.
You gonna give me any crap about my Four Corners match, Lenny?
No, because I remember watching. I always liked the WrestleMania 18 pay-per-view. I don't remember watching it and thinking that there was a match on it that I hated. So I know I don't hate that match. I don't remember stopping and thinking, "Oh, I love that match," but I know that I don't hate it. But I will definitely go back and rewatch it.
Give it a rewatch. That the Famouser and then Chuck Palumbo crawls over it. The crowd is into it the whole time. It's perfect. It's perfect. Perfect.
I really enjoy Billy and Chuck, so I would assume I like this match.
It's all right.
I don't usually like 4-way tag matches though, so we'll see. Is it elimination. Or is one fall? Okay.
Elimination.
Yeah, we'll see.
Two teams in at a time.
Okay. It doesn't sound like I'm gonna like it, but I really like Billy and Chuck, and I like their gay stuff too.
I liked their ambiguously gay gimmick a little bit better than this one, but that gimmick came out of this match. So this match is the precursor to the Billy and Chuck I love. They even had the music. They just weren't quite gay yet. They just wore big flouncy white shirts to the ring.
I really, really don't like the APA, so we'll see if they drag it down for me.
They just do big muscle spots and then get out of there.
Okay. I was gonna say, if they made it to the end and they were a big part of this, then I definitely wouldn't like it. But it doesn't sound like they're a big deal. They lost because they were out first because they were idiots. Because they completely said that the Dudley Boys and the Hardys don't matter. That we're better than them, and the Dudleys proved them wrong. I will definitely watch it this evening.
All right, well, I did my best. Somebody else do their best.
I'll do my best. I will start. I'm just going to go with my 3, just from top to bottom. And I didn't get to rewatch all of them like I hoped to because we recorded a bit earlier this week. But number 3, I have my... What? What are we laughing about?
I'm laughing because you asked me, hey, are we going to talk about recording earlier today? I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And then you just say it anyway? All right. Whatever.
Well, I made a decision to bring it up.
Well,
you're okay.
Now it's out. Now it's out in the open. I thought we'd already discussed it and we weren't going to do that, but whatever. Whatever.
Well, I didn't say specifically when we're recording. I just said a bit earlier.
We're recording
so
this
it's
the
different.
Sunday before Raw. That's what's so crazy.
That's not
Leaning on
true.
the fourth wall.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Number 3 is my favorite Undertaker WrestleMania match of all time. Is Undertaker versus Edge at WrestleMania 24.
Great match.
I would definitely say after WrestleMania 24, Undertaker's matches take a very big dip in quality, for me at least. But this is easily his best, in my opinion. I really enjoyed all the Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder and Vicky Guerrero stable, I guess you can call them a stable stuff. All that was fun to me. This was when the Undertaker really started doing all his everybody's doing everybody's finishers at WrestleMania thing. Now you see it all the time in an Undertaker match, but this is when it really started. Really believed Edge was going to win it. They completely had me there on it, but he did not, as we all know. But that is my number 3 match. Number 2, I've got Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6.
On my short list.
Yeah, I was surprised that didn't show up on your list.
On
from what I know
rewatch,
about you.
the reason it didn't is because Hogan took forever to sell the bear hug, and it ruins the match. It makes the match slog down. It's really fun up to that point, and then Hogan takes 3 minutes to get out of the bear hug. Come on, Hogan.
Well, I think it's a wonderful match. 2 of my favorites as a child. This was my childhood, is this match. Best WrestleMania match in the first 10 WrestleManias at least.
No, I mean, I get it. Like I said, it's on my short list.
And then number 1, Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 20 is the best
Another great match.
WrestleMania title match of all time. I probably rewatched. That was back when I didn't have money to buy DVDs, so I saved all my allowance to get it on pay-per-view, and I put the VHS tape in and plugged my VCR to the pay-per-view and recorded the match on my VHS tape. And I rewatched this match probably like 200 times. Oh, it's probably my favorite match of all time.
Hey, I get it.
Wonderful. So there's my top 3 WrestleMania title matches.
The triple threat didn't make mine because I think Eddie Kurt is better. So that just immediately that knocks it 1. And then just the only other one is that Benoit felt like an afterthought to this feud. And I can't divorce a match from its story. As a watcher, I just can't do it. So I'm watching it knowing the story. And with Benoit feeling like an afterthought and my personal thoughts on Eddie Kurt being better, it knocked it down to like number 5. Like, it was very close to making it for me. But it's a great match.
Yeah, I did not get that feeling of Benoit being an afterthought. I thought he fit in perfectly. It was a huge surprise when he came out after winning the Rumble. And I actually have Angle Guerrero WrestleMania 20 as my number 4. So
I understand,
it's right there. Barely missed out on it. But I was like, I already have WrestleMania 20 match, and I really like the Undertaker Edge, so I'll put that up there.
I need to rewatch Undertaker Edge.
It's a good one.
I'll do my best and worst, and then think that would probably make more sense.
Sure.
So, best, I was going for a IC title match, and it was a choice of one or the other, and I went for one because otherwise I'd have had 2 matches from the same WrestleMania, which wasn't on my shortlist for best WrestleManias, so I decided to be a contrarian sod. The one that I've gone for, just to be strange and big up a match that I actually really enjoy, as Rob Van Dam v. William Regal from WrestleMania 18.
That is a great match.
I need to rewatch it. I didn't give it enough credit when I was going through on my rewatches to look at them. I need to give it another chance.
I watched it with Mandy for the first time. We just couldn't stop laughing because the entire match is basically Rob Van Dam absentmindedly kicks Regal the wrong way. He busts Regal's lip up quite early in the match, and Regal responds by just suplexing the shit out of him. It's like, oh, take that, you sod. It's a complete styles clash, but the sort of lingering animosity that builds during it really seems to tell a story and last longer than its 7 minutes actually is. That it is. So I've always enjoyed that, and it's the opener to what I think is actually a very underrated WrestleMania, because people tend to only think of Hogan Rock, and there's actually a lot of really good undercard matches on it, in my opinion anyhow. And that's the original part of this segment, because the other 2 matches have been picked by you 2.
Oh, nice.
So I've got in second place, I've got Edge v Undertaker from WrestleMania 24.
Yeah.
We all know in streak matches that take in the match. So I always viewed this title match that even on rewatch, there are moments where, admittedly, I'm a Undertaker fan, but you can kind of lose yourself, and you almost kind of go, oh yeah, that's where I thought that the match was. Edge was definitely ending the streak right there and then. There are a number of. I feel that when you manage to make someone credible in a match where they shouldn't be credible within the whole storyline, then it clearly it works as one of the best Taker streak matches in for the title. I always forget that La Familia are involved in it until they show up, and then I go, my goodness, Kurt Hawkins interfered in the WrestleMania main event.
Yeah.
Although interference is possibly not quite, more like randomly ran in to get killed. Of course, it has the meme to end all memes of Charles Robinson running down the ramp for the near fall. But yeah, it's a great match, and it's built around the fact that Edge has watched all of Taker's he basically, it's a big thing in the storyline, he's watched all of Taker's WrestleMania matches, and he has every sort of bit where people fail scouted, so that whenever Taker goes for them, Edge has a reversal or something in mind. But then the one thing that gets him is the fact that Taker has been genre savvy enough to know that a genre savvy star will know this, so he has been practicing this new finisher, which he just manages to get in. So I think it's a really top quality match. It is.
Yeah, I definitely need to give that match another shot then.
I think that the thing that really sells it is that when it starts, the crowd are dead because they've just had Shawn v Flair and the Flair retirement. They're emotionally spent. You know, that match goes 24 minutes, and by the end of it, the crowd are on their feet. I can't think of a higher compliment to get.
Yeah.
And my number one is probably up there for one of my favourite WrestleMania matches of all time, in fact, is Ric Flair v Randy Savage at WrestleMania 8.
That's what I thought it'd be. Yeah, it's a great match.
And when you were saying about how you have to keep the storyline in with the match quality, that kind of chimed with me, because essentially this is the culmination of, I'd say, a 3-year storyline, but you could even say a 7-year storyline with about Randy Savage's character and how he has to learn to mature within the wrestling. Because, you know, you've got in 89, obviously he turns heel and he's too jealous of anyone around Elizabeth. He talks as Elizabeth decide, he goes with Sherry, etc. Then it all comes to a head the year before at the WrestleMania when he loses the retirement match to Randy. He loses the match to Randy Savage. My goodness, we've got cloning here. He loses the match to Warrior, which is, you know, it's one of my favourite matches of all time, and I'm not a Warrior fan, so
I think it is my favorite match of all time.
So, and at the end of that, of course, Sherry attacks him, and Elizabeth comes in, and as Gorilla says, Macho Man accepts Elizabeth, and the whole thing builds from him having been jealous of other people to him realising that, you know, she's in wrestling, he should be trying to protect her from all these Flair type of people. Obviously, he gets married to her, and there's a whole Jake thing, and you can see, and it keeps building with the fact that Randy is absolutely nuts, as seen in the '92 Rumble when he eliminates himself from the body match, and Gorilla and Bobby have to cover it by going, "Hey, isn't it a rule that you can only be eliminated by someone else?" Hey, yeah, I think that's right. So when we get to this match, the whole thing that they've got is that Flair and Heenan and Perfect all know that Savage is a nutter, and if you annoy him enough, he will snap and he will lose focus and everything will be. And all through that, they set out entirely to go on this, to needle at him. But right at the height of his journey, he is mature enough to deal with it, and he takes it all to his advantage, and he manages to win the belt. And they've got the great call, you know, here's your winner, and once again the WWF.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, you know,
absolutely,
this is the culmination of the Randy Savage sort of story, and you know, you can't divulge the match from that. It's his redemption.
I'm with you 100%.
Right. So, unfortunately, with great matches must come terrible matches.
See, this is my bread and butter. I like talking about the terrible stuff as much as I like talking about how perfect Billy Chuck APA Dudley's Hardy's is. Talking about the bad stuff. No, I can't even lie. Like, I know, that's my perception of me is that way, but no, these my 3 matches make me just so unhappy. All 3 of them just make me the least happy I've ever been.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's not true. I've been through a terrible divorce.
I was about to
So
say.
that's not true at all.
I've seen you pretty unhappy.
But these are absolutely terrible matches.
You know, I hate to be grumpy. I'm a sweetness and light person in general, but some matches really annoy me. I had a short list, and I realised I had too many mediocre matches on it when I should be really going for terrible. So all the ones that you just don't really remember much of, like Hogan Slaughter, just got rid of them.
Yeah, I had to do the same. I had to really, really get down to matches that were just awful.
Yeah, so I've come up with, here's my 3 really awful WrestleMania matches.
Before you go, we had no 3-way crossover last time, but we did share matches. Do you guys think that we're going to have any crossover here?
All right, possibly.
I would say no, because this isn't. I would say no crossovers.
Interesting. I was really banking on 1.
I have a feeling, well, if it's the one that you're thinking of, then I think it might be one.
All right, sorry to interrupt you, Michael.
Oh, don't worry.
What are your 3 worst?
Well, the first one, what you'll be shocked to hear now, is the Miz v Cena at WrestleMania 27. It's not helped by the fact that the Miz got a concussion apparently very early into the match. I'm not a Miz fan, and I'll say that it being on this list is clearly nothing to do with him if he couldn't even remember where he was. But my goodness, they actually went for a dusty finish in the WrestleMania main event, and the whole thing set up solely to make The Rock Cena. It's meant to be the main event of the biggest show of the year, and not only was most of it an afterthought, but it was just really bad up to a terrible finish. The only reason it's not higher is that it's not as long.
I understand that. So I found the match worked just well enough that it didn't make my 3, but it's bad.
The fact that the match has given The Miz something as a heel to brag about for this long, I can't put it on the list.
Yeah, no, that's a great point too.
And given I don't like them, maybe I should have made it higher then. Number 2, I'm a big fan of both of these people, which makes it sad for me to put it on the list, but it's Undertaker versus Sid at WrestleMania 13.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
I'm a big Undertaker fan, and I think Sid's amazing. He's a man for a role, and his role is not 20-minute main event with other giants. And this is a lumbering match which doesn't use it doesn't hide either weaknesses, and it doesn't give them their strengths, and it goes on forever, and it's there to fully cement Bret Hart's heel turn. So everything essentially becomes an afterthought. And Shawn Michaels on commentary doesn't help things either, but it's the culmination of a whole lot of panicked booking, and neither man comes out well out of it, I'm afraid.
And what's your worst?
Oh boy, there's only one option that could be my worst, and that's because it nearly killed an entire division. And the only reason that I wouldn't go fully to town on it is because one of the participants died recently, and I don't like shit stirring about the recently deceased, but it's China v Ivory at WrestleMania 17. I know there was a whole lot of backstage stuff which led to China being in the women's division and then being unemployed, but Ivory spent 2 years trying to build up that division from shit. You know, she had
from what, Sable, Terry Runnels, the Cat. Yeah.
People forget that the title change before she won the belt off Deborah was when Deborah won the belt in an evening gown match, which she lost because the referee Shawn Michaels said she looked hot, and therefore how could a hot person lose a match? I was 12 when I saw this, and I thought it was horrendous. So Ivory won the belt off Deborah soon after that, and then she had to job to the Fabulous Moolah, the 78-year-old Fabulous Moolah. But even despite that, she kept going, and they brought in Lita, and Lita was just, Lita's amazing in these things, and they had some really heated matches, and where Lita had been the champion, and Ivory became the female part of Right to Censor.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny because this happened right after the fans had kind of started accepting her, Like, she had a few segments with Foley when he became commissioner, and the fans were really chanting for Ivory, and it's like, oh, they actually really like her now. And right when that happened, she turned heel again, and she was really good in the right to censor. And they had some legit angry matches together. Like, there's one where Lita actually got Broadway cut in a women's match, and it was all building to where obviously Lita would win the title that had been stolen off her from Ivory, and that was and instead they intersected China into it, and she squashed the entire division. She squashes Ivory here. A few weeks later, she squashed Trish Stratus. The next pay-per-view, she basically gave Lita no offense, and then she left the company. And the entire division took about a year and a half to save. So, no, this is easily my least favourite WrestleMania match of all time. To the point where even now, I actually skip over it. It just fills me with too much anger.
All that makes a lot of sense. I can tell you why it didn't make my bottom three. And the only reason it didn't make my bottom three is because the China stuff made sense at the time, and then she left, you know? So that match it's hurt by hindsight for me, but the match itself, I mean, I get it. You wanted to see Ivory lose, we wanted to see China beat ass, and we got that. So the hindsight makes it just awful, and I get that, but that's why it didn't make my bottom three.
It's very rare that matches actually properly make me angry, and that one always has, even now, where we've got all these really good women on the show, like Sasha Banks and that. I'm expecting a China moment any second because it seems to always happen. But anyhow, what are your folks' least favourite title matches then?
Well, since one of mine got named, I'll go ahead and do my bottom three. I was going to make... this one was named already, so I'm going to say it now. But it is my worst match in WrestleMania history, and that's Psycho Sid versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 13. Just... shit. Man,
And you love Sid too.
I love Sid. He is one of the least appreciated, hardest working, best wrestlers of that era in both companies. And I makes me... Sid and Taker were the least important people in that match. Shawn Michaels buried them both on commentary. Bret Hart ran out twice to ruin the match. And Earl fucking Hebner gave the longest fucking 3 count I've ever seen that buried Sid. It was probably a 10 count 3 count. It was so long, and Earl Hebner normally takes long 3 counts, and this was incredibly long for him. The whole thing feels like click manipulation, and all of that, the match still is just sucky. Undertaker doesn't know how to work with people that work like him. His matches with Kane aren't good. His matches with Khali isn't good. Undertaker can't wrestle guys who wrestle like him. And Sid is a big monster power guy. So Taker didn't know how to put that match together. Sid, as much as I love him, he isn't a ring general. He does what he's told, and he does it well. And he was told to do stupid rest holds. And on top of all that, neither of them were face or heel. You cannot watch that match and know who's the face and who's the heel in that match. Sid came out fist bumping with the crowd cheering for him, but then they boo for him because they're told to boo for him, and commentary says he's heel, and Shawn Michaels shits on everything. Then Undertaker doesn't have anything going. God damn it, I hate this match. The only thing that makes this match... No, I can't. There's nothing. I got 0 good things to say about this match. So that's my worst. My other two share one theme, and it's that they're stupid short and stupid pointless. Yokozuna versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 9.
Oh man.
Oh my god. That if you want to make me mad in wrestling, have backstage bullshit ruin good stories. And to be fair, Bret Hart Yokozuna wasn't a great story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was because Bret Hart didn't want to drop the belt, whatever nonsense, backstage politicking. But Yokozuna won the Rumble. He actually, right? That's the year he won the Rumble, right? 93?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Yokozuna won the Rumble. He was out of shape, but he still was a monster. And Bret Hart bumped around like a madman for him. Of course, Yokozuna didn't want to do all the stuff, so he skipped a 4-minute sequence or something, Bret Hart says.
Yeah.
Regardless, Yokozuna Bret Hart was already bad. Potentially bad enough to be on this list on its own. But then you have Hogan come out and steal all of the limelight and squash Yokozuna in a minute 12, I think. Is
it even that?
And not even is that just bad. But they also, Hogan's like, no, I won't wrestle you. Mr. Fushi's like, oh, you can have the title. Hogan's like, no, I still won't wrestle you. I'm here for my good friend, Bret Hart, who he never interacted with as a babyface ever. They never had a friendship. It's just that standard WWE all babyfaces are friends. And then they force Bret Hart on camera to say, no, you do this, Hogan. You deserve this. He does not deserve this.
Did you say it was 1 minute 9?
Huh?
Did you say it was 1 minute 9 seconds?
I said 1:12.
It's actually 22 seconds. That was probably Yokozuna's title reign. You just...
That match is garbage. It is straight trash.
Do you know what really annoys me about it?
What?
Randy Savage went to Vince at the start of that year and offered to put Bret Hart over at WrestleMania, and Vince turned him down because he said he was too old and he was going for the young generation. They had Bret Hart v Randy Savage as the main event waiting there, and they decided to go for this instead.
Oh, and that would have been a Randy Rumble win?
Yep.
Ugh. Michael, you made a match I hate worse.
I'm here to help.
The only thing that saves that match and makes it not now worse than this other one is that at least the fans were into Hulk Hogan. Let's talk about Mysterio versus JBL at WrestleMania 25. Why don't we? JBL is completely out of shape in his retirement match that is about how racist he is a Texas billionaire and hating on Mexicans, which Mysterio then comes out and answers by dressing up like the villain from The Dark Knight, which doesn't make a lick of sense. And then it could have just been a short match. That would have been fine, I understand. But no, they didn't have the decency to make it be a short match. They had to waste 2.5 minutes of time before the bell rang with JBL kicking the crap out of Mysterio, just like they wasted all their time with Kevin Owens Goldberg, except then it's just Kevin Owens being scared to get in the ring, so at least there was character. No, this is just JBL retiring by kicking Rey Mysterio a bunch of times, looking terrible at it, and then bell ring, 619 splash, career over.
There seemed to be circumstances that they didn't realise until very short up to card just how bad his career-ending injury was. You know, the one thing that I always think of when I think of that match is when Rey Mysterio's coming out dressed as a Joker for Rey Mysterio. He's just
I don't think there's a Rey Mysterio fan among the three of us here. Yeah.
Nope.
But he comes out and Lawler goes, "Oh, he's dressed as Heath Ledger from the Dark Knight," and JR makes one of the weirdest calls that. I mean, I defend JR in our many discussions with Jessel, but I don't get this one where he goes, "Yes, but Rey Mysterio's career is alive and well." It's like,
wow.
That is the bitchiest comment. I do know that he actually went online and apologised for the comment, but it's like afterwards. But it's like it strikes me anytime I see this. I go, why would you anyone say that?
The thing that kills this match on top of everything else for me is the fan reaction to it, which was minimal at best. At least Chavo and Kane, which was really short, was fun because Chavo was a terrible jerk heel and everyone wanted to see him get destroyed. You know what the crowd doesn't do during JBL Mysterio? Give a shit.
I'm wondering, and this is just supposition, but you know how Rey Mysterio had been going for the IC title for like a month or so before?
Yeah.
JBL won the belt. I'm pretty sure it was only about 3 weeks prior to the show off of CM Punk. Just suppositioning that maybe people who were going there had thought, oh, are we going to get Punk v Rey Mysterio? And no, they got JBL in a 9-second match instead, and so reacted accordingly.
That's certainly possible. Those are my three. What do you think of those, Lenny? You haven't said much.
I definitely understand why you have a lot of the shorter matches. I've tried. I was talking about this yesterday that my initial list was almost all matches that were under, I guess, a couple of minutes. But then I decided, because when I watch wrestling and I rewatch wrestling, if there's a match that is just, if it is a literal bathroom break, I will just take a bathroom break and I don't have to rewatch it, so I don't consider that really a bad match. I mean, I know it's a bad match, but since I don't have to rewatch it, to me, it doesn't really influence me over and over again. But if a match is a longer match, I am actually going to sit down and watch it over and over and over. I will not skip a match that is a full-length match. So my list is a lot more full-length matches, but I definitely understand
that's fair.
Where you're coming from on your list. And I don't know, the all the Sid and Undertaker hate. When you guys are talking about it, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to figure out why I don't hate that match. And I guess the best reasoning I can get is, I mean, when I watched it when I was younger, I was a huge mark for the big, colorful characters and WWF setup. I mean, it was a big WrestleMania thing. I don't think it mattered if they put on a crappy match whatsoever back in those days when I watched wrestling. I didn't care. I cared about the fact that these were really cool-looking characters in a really big world, and it was an escape from having to be a little homeschool nerd. I don't think when I watched the match initially, I probably couldn't see a bad match. So I guess that's why I don't consider that a bad match.
I would say give it a rewatch, but don't. Everybody listening, don't watch that match. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your time to watch Earl Hebner flounder around on the mat and take 25 seconds to do a 3 count.
Well, when I was older, I guess in the late teens, I bought the Undertaker WrestleMania DVD. I think at that point it only went up to 16. I think it was like the 16-0 DVD. And I rewatched it then. I don't even remember it. So maybe I just went to the bathroom for a really long time during that match or something. It doesn't even register for me. So my worst matches are all longer matches, although I don't think that they are the worst WrestleMania title matches. The worst WrestleMania title matches are things like JBL Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan Sheamus is a terrible match. Chavo Kane is a crappy ass match.
I actually like Daniel Bryan Sheamus, the actual match they had, the short one. Daniel Bryan was a nasty heel and he needed to get his comeuppance and he got it. I mean, I would have liked to see them have a great match the year prior, but the short one I don't got a problem with.
Maybe if it was against someone else, but there is probably not a character in WWE that I have hated more than babyface Sheamus. That is probably my least favorite character overall. And I don't like talking about things I don't like in wrestling. This is going to be my least favorite thing we're going to talk about on this podcast ever. I don't like talking about this. But man, babyface Sheamus, and he walked around with that stupid shirt that had how long the match was and said fella, and it was trash. It was worse than Sid versus Undertaker. Terrible. All right, so my worst 3 WrestleMania title matches. Number 3 is Iron Man match, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart.
That was so close to making my list. That was my number 4. Absolutely, 100%.
That was the one that I thought we might have a crossover with, but I knew that you, yesterday when we were talking about this, that you were going for some of the shorter ones, so I thought against it. It's a super boring match. Nothing happens. And then, of course, the match goes even longer. And then nothing still happens. And then, I mean, the match, there's no redeeming qualities about the match. And when I was researching about it, I was reading up on it today. It's actually, I'm surprised that I guess it's evolved into being, it's actually a match that a lot of people don't like now. I remember it used to be considered one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time, and nowadays it's considered a worse, like it's in like the top 10s of worst WrestleMania matches. I guess fans have changed, and I'm glad to see that because it's not a good match.
I get the impression it's a generational thing that we were told, because I feel like, say, 35 and younger were told that this was the great match that we'd appreciate when we were older. But now you've got the network in that, you've got all these younger fans actually going back to look at this match, and it doesn't hold up at all. I feel this is a shared opinion here.
Yeah, absolutely. Even worse than all of that, it's the first ever Iron Man match in WWE history. And the first one ever is the exception that has no pinfalls because the two of them jerk each other off for an hour. Ugh.
And you know why that is? Because Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart mostly Shawn Michaels at this point, he'll admit, wouldn't lose to each other, even a single fall.
Ugh, no wonder WCW was doing so good. Screw Shawn Michaels, screw Bret Hart. Ugh.
Doing so great at that point in time. They were doing the 11-on-2 triple cage match.
They were doing that terrible match, weren't they? I guess I need to take that back.
No backsies.
That's how we're doing.
No backsies.
That's how we're moving. 11 versus 2, where the only stipulation is that Hogan has to get up and back down. They can't win. The Dungeon of Doom couldn't win that match. The stipulation of the match itself was just he had to go all the way up and down. Then somehow they get out of the thing to go back to the regular ring for a while, and that's not the end of the match. That doesn't count as escaping. So then they get back inside.
It wasn't supposed to be a match. It was supposed to be a challenge for Hogan to overcome. You're thinking of it incorrectly, but it was bad. I just watched it earlier this year. I was watching through the years of WCW. It is a bad match, but it wasn't supposed to. Oh, it was a bad challenge. My bad. All right, number 2 on the list. Now, this is not a typical title match, but it is what was won, and it was defended later. But this is the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal at WrestleMania 25, I believe. This started out when it first was brought up. It was going to be this big Battle Royal with all these girls coming back. They were trying to get Trish back. They were going to get Lita back for this crown, kind of like what they do with the Andre the Giant thing now. So it had a lot of hype. And then it became fucking Kid Rock doing songs for everybody's entrance, but they didn't even get enough rights to it, so they had to cut out them entering the ring because they couldn't have Kid Rock's music in the DVDs and on the WWE Network. And then everybody's pushing each other around in the ring, and freaking Santino Marella wins it and wins the crown and feuds with Vicky Guerrero in a hog pin match later on in the year. But it's a long match, so it belongs on the list, and it's a terrible match.
Hey, I can't argue with you. It's bad. It's just not a real title.
It is a title. It is the Miss WrestleMania title, and it is defended, so it counts.
I'm not arguing with you I'm saying I didn't put it on mine because it's not a real title. But it is defended, so I get it.
That match has Molly Holly in it. Does anyone notice?
I do notice. She's not there long, but she's there.
I noticed that Trish Stratus wouldn't do it. That's what I noticed.
Yes, because she first saw how it would be. So did Lita, actually. She's not in it either.
Yeah, both of them found a way to... Or didn't find a way. They just were like, hell no.
You wouldn't believe how excited I was that Molly Holly was returning in that match. That's another case of them taking women's stuff that I'm really excited about and just making me look foolish.
Well, that's my point, is that I was excited about it too. I thought it actually had some momentum to be a really cool thing. They had never done something like that before at WrestleMania. And this was at a time when the women's division was pretty trashy in the WWE. And they just made it a whole lot worse by having a cross-dressing Santino Marella win it to feud with Vicky Guerrero.
Oh, I agree. It was dreadful. And Santino winning it was, that makes it even worse.
And that was my number 1, but then I rewatched this match during lunch today, and so my number 1 is Booker T versus Triple H at WrestleMania 19. Is
interesting.
My worst WrestleMania title match. The whole match is Jerry Lawler insulting Booker T for having a life of crime. Booker T looks terrible in the whole match. Booker T has one chance to do a good move, and he completely botches it. Triple H hits the pedigree on Booker T, and then they just lay there for like 20 seconds before Triple H even covers him, and then he wins, and then Booker T goes into doing nothing. Booker T's face, I guess you can call him being a face here, is a terrible version of Booker T that didn't ever fit Booker T, and there was nothing redeeming about the match. No redeeming qualities about the feud. It went nowhere. I mean, it was all just to mark off another WCW name before Goldberg showed up, but it is, in my opinion, the worst title match.
The thing that makes me the maddest is that Booker T was gonna win that until they signed Goldberg. That's what makes me the most mad.
And they didn't just... And they could have done something there to keep the feud going and then had all 3 of them in a feud, but no, they just made Booker T look terrible in the entire thing. And I was a huge Booker T fan.
Yeah, this one was on my list, but I knocked it off ultimately just because at least the work rate's okay.
Really, if you swap the finish around, it would be nowhere near the worst in my opinion, but it's the whole storyline building into it needed Booker T to win that match, and when he doesn't, and the way he loses it, it's just really unsettling, shall we say.
But those are my top 3.
All right, well, hey, we've talked about title matches, the hardest dadgum question on this episode. So now it's time for topic 2.
All right, topic 2 is a simpler topic in theory. Very simply, what is the best WrestleMania of all time, and what is the worst WrestleMania of all time?
For best, either going to be WrestleMania 10, 19 or 30. And I'm not going to go... I'm very against 30 because it's too new for me. As somebody with a historical bent to the proceedings, it's something needs to be fairly old for me to like. It's either going to be 10 or 19, and I always go to 19 in these matters because the debate used to be what was better, 17. 17 would always be the unanimous pick, and I would always go Well, you have to look at WrestleMania 19. It is top to bottom great matches. It's got a fantastic opener with Matt Hardy and Rey Mysterio. It's got 5 main events in a row. You've got the Triple H match, Triple H Booker T match, which we've just mentioned. But you've also got Shawn Jericho, great match. Hogan Vince, shockingly good match with a great Roddy Piper swerve appearance, which nobody saw coming. Austin's final match. And then you've got the main event, which when you consider Brock basically gusses himself to hell and Kurt Angle was wrestling with a broken neck because he's a fucking lunatic. It is far better. It is almost a great match in its own right. At the time, everyone thought that Kurt Angle wasn't going to make the match and that Chris Benoit would have to step in as his substitute, which is why Benoit's in a throwaway tag title match on the show. It is a really good show, and even when I watch it now, I can't help but think, how great must this show be when Limp Bizkit get 10 minutes of it, and I still think it's great.
Well, I want to go ahead and interrupt you because I am so excited because I also picked WrestleMania 19 as my favorite WrestleMania, or the best WrestleMania. It's the best and my favorite. Skipping over the Undertaker match, I watched this whole pay-per-view this morning just to make sure. I think this is a really cool Undertaker match because this is the only, as far as Undertaker matches go, that he gets put in a handicap match. So it adds a very interesting dynamic for the Undertaker. Of course, Nathan Jones shows up and everything works out the way it was originally scheduled. But I think it's really cool the fact that it is a handicap match, and that is a new obstacle for Undertaker to overcome that he hasn't ever had to do before. But the card is fantastic. Booker T loses, and that match is disappointing. But even the throwaway tag team match is still a good tag team match. The women's match is good. Yeah, Rey Mysterio, Matt Hardy is fantastic. Vince McMahon puts on arguably his greatest match that he's ever done. I mean, it is an unreal pay-per-view, so I'm just very, very excited that you picked that.
That's really interesting to me that your best favorite WrestleMania has your worst title match in it. Like, I would think that the two things could not coexist.
Well, there are most WrestleManias that have 2 to 3 crappy matches on them, so to have a WrestleMania with one bad match on it, I think that is perfectly acceptable.
See, I don't like 19 very much because 20 is way better. Cena Show was great. Christian Jericho was great. Evolution Rock and Sock was super fun. The Cruiserweight Open was awesome. The Victoria Molly Holly hair match was memorable and really great. Benoit had his awesome match. Eddie had his awesome match. WrestleMania 20, hands down, is my favorite. It took a lot of rewatching to get it whittled down, but absolutely, WrestleMania 20 takes the cake for me. My favorite is actually tied to my least favorite in a kind of silly, fun, and kind of in a funny way. I'll explain it in a minute, but my least favorite WrestleMania is WrestleMania 27. I don't know if you two guys have it, but I know a lot of people consider this one to be one of the worst Manias, and I didn't want to include it. I was going between this one and 29, but man, this is a really poopy pay-per-view. There are legitimately no matches on that pay-per-view that I would call a good match.
Is this Punk Jericho?
No.
It's Miss Cena.
It's Punk Randy Orton.
Okay.
That ends with the flying chin butt into the RKO.
Yeah. This is the one I was at. This one is trash.
It is. I really did almost go with WrestleMania 29, which is almost as bad, but I think it makes me angrier that Michael Cole is 1-0 at WrestleMania.
And isn't that I'm pretty sure it's the longest match on the entire pay-per-view, is that one?
No, the match is only 15 minutes, but the segment is 35.
Oh, okay.
So what's funny and what ties these together for me is I haven't taken many breaks in wrestling, but I did. I took one big break, and it was from WrestleMania 20 to WrestleMania 27. My favorite WrestleMania was the last one I watched for 7 years, and then my least favorite Mania is the one that got me back into wrestling.
And now I feel bad because if I recall correctly, weren't we watching it live? As in,
we did indeed.
And Cole v Lawler was so bad that I went, sod this, it's 4 a.m. in Glasgow, I'm going to bed, and left you to it.
I understand. See, I actually did the same thing with WrestleMania 20. What made me stop watching WrestleMania 20 was Goldberg Brock Lesnar.
Oh, goodness.
I literally, we watched it in college, we bought it as a group, we watched it, that match was so bad, we turned off the TV and went and played Magic. So I missed all the title matches until a couple weeks later when I found our VHS that we'd recorded it on, and I was like, wow, these are great matches! But by that point I was already done.
So you missed Eddie v Angle live by about 15 minutes.
I know, but I missed one of my favorite matches of all time live. Because of sodding Goldberg Brock Lesnar. But yeah, I find that really funny. I think that says a lot about me, doesn't it?
My least favourite WrestleMania. I did hum and her about WrestleMania 2, which is really badly produced and it has many dreadful matches.
It's a good choice.
But it also has one match that I really like. Like, I really like the Battle. Okay, I'm becoming a cliche here. I do like the Battle Royal, but I really love the Dory and Terry Funk versus Junkyard Dog and Tito Santana match. I think that's
yeah, that match is fun.
And it's completely off the radar. Nobody seems to remember it. Literally, that match and the Bulldogs title win, they drag the show. Oh, and Roddy Piper's brilliantly camp promo about how, he says, if Mr. T can knock me out, I will give up boxing, I will give up wrestling, I will give up kissing girls, turns and hugs Bob Orton Jr. I won't give up you, though. It is top quality, Roddy Piper. The good in that saved it. And WrestleMania 11 is really dull, but I didn't want to say it's my worst because I feel like Bam Bam Bigelow really, he goes out of his way to try and make everything in the main event amazing, and I think he's very underrated as a wrestler. And
agreed. I think he succeeded. That main event's great.
Yeah, which leaves us with the one which, by default on this shortlist, has to be my worst, and you'll be shocked to hear it, is in fact WrestleMania 27.
Hey! I kind of figured when you had Miz Cena in your worst matches. I kind of figured.
It's a dreadful main event, but before that, you've got Waller versus Cole. And I'm shocked that you say the segment only goes on for 35 minutes, because I'm pretty sure it goes on for 35 years. There's the core match where, Wade Barrett's team get absolutely crushed by the local men. I like that, I am a Rock fan, but he works best when he's got someone to work with, and clearly at the start they said, hey, go out and kill half an hour, and he is very blatantly trying to kill half an hour, and it's a dreadful opening. And the whole thing, it just saps your goodwill to bits, so that by the time the Taker Triple H match happens, it's the weakest of the three Triple H Undertaker WrestleMania matches, but within the context of WrestleMania 27, it is amazing compared to everything else on the show. It's just a really bad WrestleMania, and it's the only WrestleMania since I've been an adult and not been able to watch them live and not have to go to school the next day, which I have given up on live.
That definitely should make it your worst. No, I'm your least favorite. I'm with you. Clearly. Lenny, is it your worst? Do we have a crossover?
No, I can't make it my worst. Sorry, guys.
Lenny.
The fact that I have attended a WrestleMania live, and there's certain parts when I'm watching the pay-per-view back, and I can be like, oh, I remember when that happened live, and I could, because where we were sitting was actually about 20 feet from the VIP section. So all the wrestlers, once they were done, or the Hall of Fame inductees, they would go and they would sit up. They would sit up there and they'd be eating their food and stuff. So being able to turn around and watch like Scott Hall's reaction to Cody Rhodes and Rey Mysterio and stuff like that made the pay-per-view better. And so I can't rewatch it without connecting little memories like that to the pay-per-view.
Sure.
So it's kind of an unfair advantage. So I completely understand why people don't like it whatsoever, but I have the little bit of an unfair advantage to being able to be there and seeing those little things. So I can't make it my least favorite pay-per-view.
Well, that's cool then, but what is it then?
My least favorite pay-per-view, and there are matches on it that I know they should have been considered okay matches, but there's just nothing on this pay-per-view that ever clicked for me, and I ever enjoyed any of it, but WrestleMania 23 is my least favorite WrestleMania of all time. This is headlined by John Cena and Shawn Michaels. Supposed to be John Cena, Triple H again, but Triple H gets hurt the New Year's Revolution a little bit before that. This had the Bobby Lashley, Donald Trump, Umaga hair match. The big man, like 8 guys, and all the major names they didn't know what to do with got thrown into the Money in the Bank match. Undertaker and Batista was like the worst match out of their entire feud.
It really was not as good. It was on my short list for good matches for our best titles, and I rewatched it. It wasn't great.
I mean, their feud lasted like quite a while, and they had some pretty good ones, but that one was not a good one. You had the ECW Originals versus the New Breed, which ended up being like 5 minutes long or something. I don't remember, but it was really, really short. They did
7:27.
7:27. Okay, it was very short for an 8-person tag. There wasn't a single match that I enjoyed on the entire card.
The only match that saves that one for me was I liked Benoit MVP. I thought that was a good match.
And see, I should like it. I'm a huge MVP fan, and I'm a huge Chris Benoit fan, but that match did nothing for me. I don't know if it's just the way that the pay-per-view is going, just the mood of it, but the pay-per-view just does absolutely nothing for me. And Shawn Michaels didn't seem like, I don't know, he just didn't seem like he wanted to be there whatsoever. It was one of his worst WrestleMania matches.
Yeah, he and Cena do not click.
I seem to recall their 50-minute match on Raw a few weeks later was much better, but I actually haven't seen it since it happened.
It was much better, but it still wasn't that good.
Those are our least and favorite WrestleManias. I really thought we'd have a crossover on 27, but I guess not, which is good. It's more entertaining if we don't. So we're going to go to our last topic. 3. And now this topic is a little bit bigger in scope because it's going to be something we can return to, but this is going to be the beginning of our Broken Table Commentary Hall of Fame. How this is going to work, it's been teased on the website since we started the website, but whenever one of the 3 of us want to, we can take our topic and establish it as a Hall of Fame induction, and then we can apply whatever rules we want onto that induction, but ultimately the mechanics will always work the same. You set up your rules, each of us will bring 3 people that fit those rules to the table, and then the other 2 people will whittle us down to 1 pick each, with the only exception being if all 3 of us say the same name. If there's a crossover between all 3, they are guaranteed in, and then we will pick 1 more from each person. If there's 2 guaranteed in, then those 2 are in, and that's the class. And then if all 3 are in, then hey, we worked together and we made it without having a debate. So this the Hall of Fame will come up multiple times. I don't know how often. Probably not too often. We have lots of ideas for other topics. Whenever Lenton wants to do one, whenever Michael wants to do one, they can do it with their own rules, however they want to do it. But this is our inaugural class of the Broken Table Commentary Hall of Fame. Thank you. The only rules I established were that I was hoping that they would do only wrestlers, which I think they did, and that Goldberg worked too much this year to be considered fair game. So anyone who worked as much as Goldberg or more is not retired enough to go in the Hall of Fame. So that means no Kurt Angle, because he worked a bunch on the Indies. There's no Goldberg, but Undertaker is fair, because he's only worked 1 match and a few show-ups on Raw. Goldberg has worked 4 matches, and showing up on Raw.
I can guarantee you that if any of my 3 shortlists wrestled this year, I would mark the fuck out and become a avowed religious figure. But for reasons that will become obvious, I can't see that happening.
I wonder what he means.
I think he means they're dead.
Ah.
So those were my rules to set it up. So we're going to figure out how the best way to say this format is. Right now, I want to just hear, without any commentary, all 3 of our picks. And then we'll debate and argue. So Lenny and I will take Michael's 3 picks and whittle it down to the one we agree with the most. And that'll be his entrant. Michael and Lenny will do it for me, and Michael and I will do it for Lenny. Everyone good?
That's great. I love that.
Okay, I'll go ahead and just say my 3 then. My 3 are Lex Luger, Eddie Guerrero, and Macho Man Randy Savage.
I've got Andre the Giant, Macho Man Randy Savage, and the Steiner Brothers.
I know the first inductee into our Hall of Fame then.
Oh yeah?
My 3 are, you're going to be shocked by the first one, Mr. Perfect! My second one, Owen Hart. And my third one, oh yes, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Hey, we had our first crossover! Yay! I think clearly all three of us, we love Macho Man. And Macho Man rightly deserves to be our headliner. Our only thing all three of us agreed on all episode. And that's that he deserves to be in. So he's our headliner. Macho Man will be he is our mainstay, our number one, our first guy in. But that means we need to whittle it down now to one more from each of us. So we're going to have a class of 4 this first time around.
Okay.
So that's Luger or Eddie.
Yeah. Why don't you two argue between Lex Luger and Eddie? I can make my case for you. You can ask the questions why I put them. But yeah.
Obviously, I would go in. I'm walking into that with a bias. I prefer Eddie. But I'm willing to be persuaded if there's a debate towards Luger.
I am also highly leaning towards Eddie Guerrero. So unless you're trying to lean us towards Lex Luger?
No. I think all 3 deserve to be in. I'll make my case for Luger, though, just so that everybody can hear it. Because I think Lex Luger is incredibly underrated. He suffers from similar circumstances as Chris Benoit, in that their real-life situation involved murder and ended up ruining their careers and their lives. Benoit ending up, unfortunately, committing suicide as well, all because of concussions, dementia, and so on and so forth. And Lex Luger ending up having manslaughter for Ms. Elizabeth. Those are the things that are going to keep them out of WWE's Hall of Fame. But it's important to me that the Broken Table Commentary Hall of Fame doesn't have to stick to those rules. And I think that Lex Luger is incredibly important, a tag team wrestler, as a main eventer, as a face, as a heel, as a guy who ran up and down the card. He put people over. He was a company guy. He was a little bit of an idiot in the WWF. But he is the mainstay of Nitro. His shocking entrance in the Mall of America is one of the things that gave Nitro the ammunition it needed to compete. Lex Luger is the most perfectly booked wrestler in WCW history, from his entrance in Nitro until, 4 years later? Every match, every story, every face and heel turn, everything he does is so pitch perfectly done, just because the WWF didn't use him very well, and they made him look like the fool for celebrating a huge win at SummerSlam for a match he lost. That doesn't matter, because Lex Luger works really hard. And then on top of all of that, regardless of all of that, Lex Luger has low-key been hired by the WWE now, to work in their rehab center to help people with fitness, which he was always amazing at, to help people with dietary, which he's always been amazing at, and to help people get off of drugs. Low-key. It's not talked about, he is not on the website, not until just recently when they finally put out a new shirt for him, a vintage Lex Luger shirt, and he became a main character in 2K17 instead of DLC. Lex Luger has been a black sheep, ugly stepchild for the WWE, but has been working for them since I think 2011 with their wellness policy. And he has been legitimately making wrestlers safer and healthier for years now, on top of already having an incredible WCW run. And that's not even talking about the fact that he's a 4 horseman. He and Sting have been working so well together for so long. I think Lex Luger is incredibly underrated, and that's why I put him on the list. I don't argue with you about Eddie. I agree Eddie also deserves it. So whatever you two decide is fine, but I really wanted to make my case for Lex Luger. I think he doesn't get the props he deserves.
I completely agree that we shouldn't keep him off because of any connections to personal stuff that would keep him off of a WWE list. But you're putting him up against Eddie Guerrero, and that's the thing that makes it tough. I have no problems whatsoever about any of the things from his past decades and decades and decades ago. And I actually was not aware at all about his currently working with the wellness policy stuff. That is completely new to me.
Yeah, Wikipedia has some of it up there, some of the info, because they're being real hush-hush about it, but it's super cool.
I really liked your, I don't want to call it defense, more of a supportive argument for Luger there, and it really focused on when you focused on his strengths as a performer, he did some great stuff. However, you're comparing him to Eddie Guerrero, who didn't need to hide his weaknesses in the ring because he didn't exist. We're talking.
No, you are completely correct.
We're talking about one of the rare people who, he could talk, he could wrestle, the socks off anyone. He could perform at any position on the card, could perform in various styles, even had a few brawling hardcore matches which were bloody amazing. And to top it all, when he and Rey Mysterio had their long-running feud, they actually drew money. So we're talking about somebody who had, apart from, his inner demons getting rid of him at a stupidly young age and, depriving us of all these dream matches that sound amazing in our head. We're talking a total package versus the total package.
Yeah, I completely understand, and I can't disagree with you. I'm just happy that I was able to at least make people more aware of why Lex Luger really shouldn't be as underappreciated as he is.
No,
So Eddie Guerrero, Macho Man Randy Savage.
And then my other two, Steiner Brothers and Andre the Giant.
I know I personally immediately go for the Steiner Brothers over Andre. Andre did his job, and he was good for his time, but I don't think he holds up. Whereas the Steiner Brothers, as crazy as they are individually, as a unit, they are arguably the greatest tag team of all time. So I definitely lean towards the Steiners.
See, I immediately lean towards Andre, given that when you think of Hall of Fames, you think of sort of iconic pillars of wrestling. And when you think of iconic pillars of wrestling, you can't avoid Andre the Giant as one of the big sort of crossover people. But if you're thinking of the Hall of Fame in terms of sort of in-ring greatness...
Well, I mean, this is our Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
This is the three of us, so there are no rules currently.
Yeah, because, obviously the Steiners get the go on great matches, but then I'm also reminded that all of Andre's existing matches mostly come from when he was a broken down mess, whereas apparently he could actually keep up quite well with folk back in the 60s, but no one has any of those matches on tape.
Lenny, why don't you share some light on why those two made it in? Maybe that'll help lean me or Michael one way or the other.
Steiner Brothers, like you said, I absolutely consider them. I'm talking about them as a unit. They are, in my opinion, the greatest tag team of all time. I think their matches, they worked well with anybody at their peak. They, as far as I know, weren't, and I am not the person to talk to when it comes to backstage drama stories. I don't really gravitate to that. But in their younger years, I don't know of any big, during the old WCW days, of them causing a lot of ruckus or anything like that. Andre the Giant.
I certainly never heard of any. When Scott got him by himself, that was a little different. But them as a tag team, I don't think I heard of
I
any.
know a lot of Scott problems later on, but for them to be that good and not get big egos, and they're just so good as a tag team. Andre the Giant, like Michael said, I have the icon, because he is. I mean, there's a movie being made about him now. I mean, how many years later is someone making a movie about Andre the Giant? There's a graphic novel that came out about Andre the Giant last year that I have that is really, really good. I mean, he was put in movies back then and did a fantastic job. He had this one big loafy man style that so many guys could work with and put on matches that back then we thought were really good matches. Maybe they don't all hold up so well right now, but I mean, Andre the Giant is an icon. He's not so much the great wrestler, but he is, besides Hulk Hogan, I would say he is the icon of the older days, and he have all that big ego drama package that Hulk Hogan brought along. That Andre the Giant was the good part of that, I would say.
Plus, he was in The Princess Bride.
I think, as much as I do tend to appreciate and value work rate over anything else, I think you guys made a good point. I'm willing to throw my hat at Andre.
Hey, Savage, Eddie, Andre were already more legit than the TNA Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Lenny, you and I got to pick between Mr. Perfect and Owen Hart.
And
Okay.
whoever wins here, I win, so I'm happy.
Well,
this one's hard for me.
This one, I mean, it's not hard for me. I am not an Owen Hart fan. I'm not a Hart fan of most of the Harts. But I'm taking a little bit of time to try and disconnect personal distaste for Owen Hart and trying to think about it in a more fair way. So give me a second.
Well, I can tell you my thoughts. I know Owen was like glue. He held together a bad roster with the glue of good matches with most of them. I don't think Owen was ever great, personally, but I think he was really good. And I think they had the potential. He reminds me of Wade Barrett. He had the potential to be a top, huge star. And instead, they used him as just a middling, pass him around the middle of the card star so that they could keep things working and add a little bit of legitimacy to the other wrestlers they want to pull up to the top. So I get that. But then you have Mr. Perfect, who also had a hard time reaching the top and did the same thing for a different era. But then he got injured, unfortunately, and then spent a year on commentary, which was fine. He was all right on commentary. And then he went to WCW, where he didn't have a good match ever. I can't think of any, but Michael, I'm sure you know plenty of good Mr. Perfect WCW matches.
He is one of the few people that brought Goldberg to a watchable match, in my view.
Ugh, the one at Road Rash or Hog Wild?
No, it's on a Nitro that nobody remembers.
All right. Well, if you were talking about the one at Garbage Road Wild Hog Rash, whatever that pay-per-view is called, I was gonna fight you. But I haven't seen the Nitro one. I'll have to look it up. I'm always a fan of good Goldberg matches.
The Nitro one starts with Hennig smash when Goldberg's coming out the door. Hennig runs up and smashes the door in his face, and I just thought, why did no one ever do that in 2 years?
I like that. So Lenny, I'm leaning towards Owen.
You're leaning towards Owens? Okay.
I'm leaning towards Owen Hart.
The reason this one's especially difficult is because I grew up on the WCW and I didn't grow up on Attitude Era Raw, and I've had to go back and rewatch it, and I haven't rewatched all of it, like not the like Stone Cold Steve Austin-y stuff, but a little bit before that when Owen Hart was like the big deal. I wish I would have seen more of Owen Hart wrestle and be the glue to keep the roster together. And then what is the Kurt Hennig Texas Redneck group? What were they called?
Oh yeah, Rap is Crap.
What was the tag team?
West Texas Redneck. Don't laugh, it's Hennig, Barry Windham,
And Barry Windham.
Kendall Windham, and Bobby Duncan, 4 men against 50 rappers.
Against the Filthy
Georgia.
Animals.
And they thought that Hennig would be the heel.
I love that feud so much. And it lasted so long, and they kept doing stuff. Oh, man. See, when you talk about him going to the WCW and not doing anything, my first thought is, what? Rap is Crap and the Filthy Animals and fighting Conan and Rey Mysterio every week. What are you talking about, man? That was great. And I think Mr. Perfect had the better characters, and I really liked him on commentary. So, I mean, I'm with Mr. Perfect all the way here. Sorry.
We're clearly split. Michael, help us out. Give us a little bit of thought process.
Well, obviously, Mr. Perfect is my favourite wrestler of all time. I will look towards Owen instead for a bit. And I was hearing Blanton's bit about how he didn't really see Owen's sort of general gluiness, shall we say. It's a shame because really, if it wasn't for Owen Hart and a few other folk like Brett and some of the lesser heralded members of the clique, Mr. Waltman for example, there wouldn't be a WWE now for us all to complain about, because they pretty much kept that federation on life support with their with quality matches throughout 94, 95, 96 until they were ready to be in a position to finance any comeback against WCW. And if you look to any number of otherwise forgettable 95, 96 era Raws, right in the middle of it you will have an Owen Hart match, which is well above the standards of just about everything around it. You'll have a Fantasio match and a Henry Gordon match, and then you'll have Owen Hart making Savio Vega look fucking amazing. Beyond that, he is one of the best characters of the time, because they took the whole storyline of him being Brett and him being this sort of spoiled within the family but not within wrestling whiny brother, and they took anything that wouldn't work for him, like the fact that Hearts aren't great promo guys in general, and he just ran with this character so that anything which would seem weaker in other people became part of the character of Owen Hart, whiny kid brother, whose entire ethos was to try and win these titles so he could go, hey, look everybody, stop looking at Brett I'm better than him. Even matches which, even like matches and errors which aren't as best remembered now, you've still got this one character who, on form, could bring anyone in the show to a good match. And when he was really on form, a great match. He didn't have as many great matches as his talent deserved, but when you're in crisis, you need wrestlers like Owen Hart to keep your company going. And it is to the benefit of all of wrestling that he was in the WWE at that point in time. That's my view anyhow.
I mean, if everybody who was following it at that time is saying that that's what he did, and they're saying things like, I wouldn't be able to be watching the WWE that I have now without it, then I feel like Owen Hart deserves it.
What do you say, Lenny? I'll let you make the final call.
I say, well, we can go with Owen Hart with all that said.
All right. Well, there we go. Everyone listening, our very first Broken Table Commentary Hall of Fame class, headlined Macho Man Randy Savage, then Eddie Guerrero, Owen Hart, and Andre the Giant. That's a pretty great first class.
Fatal 4-way match!
I know that any of my friends listening to this will be like, ha? My view is that everyone acknowledges Mr. Perfect is great. They tend to forget that Owen was great, so I batted for him when it came to the matter.
Give me each of you, give me an Owen Hart match to watch, and I will watch it.
You want to know my favorite Owen Hart match? It'll be very hard to find, but it's my favorite. Michael found it for me because I'd never heard of it before. They did a Madison Square Garden specific house show Royal Rumble that has only been a house show, and it was done so that, spoiler, Owen wins. But they did the whole thing to set up for that crowd to be prepared for the Owen-Bret Hart feud. And that Rumble is great. It's one of my favorite Rumbles, and it's not anywhere. If you can find that,
I think it's on Daily Motion.
Great.
But it's a fan cam, just to warn you.
Yeah, and I think it's great with it being a fan cam. Like, it's really fun. If Rumbles are always fun to watch. And even without commentary, that Rumble tells a great story. And hearing the crowd's reaction for Owen, that's what sold me on Owen.
Okay, I will look for it. Michael?
Well, I'll actually jump to the complete opposite end here. Breakdown 1998, he had a match with a rookie called Edge.
That is a good match.
They have 10 minutes to go out there, and by the end of it, Edge is a star in the making. It's Owen's last great match because he's only got 8 months left of his life, although no one knew it at that point.
Is this on Raw?
No, it's on pay-per-view. It's a pay-per-view called Breakdown from 1998, September 98.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Christian debuts that pay-per-view too, doesn't he? Yeah, it's really good.
And it is a perfect example of the kind of Owen on form match where he could take somebody who the crowd either didn't really know much about, or they didn't associate, and make him into someone they care about within a 10-minute sprint. So yeah, I recommend that match.
Alrighty.
Yeah, well, that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. I think this was really fun. Lots of interesting conversations. I'm excited to see what we're gonna do in the future.
I enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
Love you guys.
All right, bye, buds.